I'm developing an idle RPG called The Last Good Boy. In this video, I will show the progress that I've made in 1 year of game development, where my game went from this to this. My initial idea was to create an idle game where you could see your character moving and doing the actions. I don't have anything against games that relies heavily on the UI. I like those games, but they appeal more to an audience that already likes to play idle games. And I wanted to create a game for those that likes dogs, or for those that never played a game before. Maybe they just like to play cozy games and chill a little bit, no stress while playing. I don't know if it will work, but at least I tried. I started by developing a way for the player to move on the grid using a pathfinding to find the closest path to the destination. It was kind of easy because I already had implemented in another 2D games, so I just had to copy it and adapt to my grid, because the other 2D game was a side-scroller. Then I worked on the UI to check how it would look like. Initially, I thought about putting it on the side of the screen, like most of the game does, but then I realized that it could be better if I move it to the bottom of the screen, like I did it with my other game called Idle Game with No Name. I did that game for a game jam, but you can still check it on itch.io. After a few adjustments, it ended up looking like this. The next thing that I made was to create the base interaction between the resources and the player. I wanted to interact with a tree and get a log from it. Then, be able to manipulate this item inside the inventory. It took me way longer than I expected, and I had to rework this inventory later on, but at least I did something, and that was enough back then. Since we already have the movement and the resources, I started to think about the map. For that, I used a game called My Little Planet as an inspiration. But the difference is that in this game, you just need to be closer to the tile that you want to unlock, and in my game, you have to drag and drop things to it. And this decision to drag and drop was a huge mistake, because turns out that this is not that intuitive. I ended up changing it later to just click on it, and it is way better. Then I finally decided to work on the combat. The base idea was, you feed your portal with items, and it will start spawning monsters. Each item gives a different amount of fuel duration. I decided to use this method because I wanted to create a way for the player to consume the resources, to avoid the scenarios where you have a bunch of different items and don't know what to do with it. Now you can put almost everything into the portal. The only exception is your initial X. Because if you put it in a portal, you basically can't play the game, because if you can take down a tree, you can get a log, and then you can craft anything. I also decided to make you able to unlock different monsters using different items, to create a more meaningful progression. Here is how it looks like. If you click on the portal, it will open his own UI, where you will be able to see the fuel slot and the possible monster recipes. Then you just need to select the recipe and add fuel to it. At this point, I had made a bad decision to return the items used on the previous monster when you select the next one. Today it doesn't look like this. Now you unlock the monster once, and then you can select and unselect as you wish. Then I started to draw the first version of our player. It's funny to look back at this because I had to redraw it again later on because the player was too big compared to the other elements. He looks like a giant dog when compared to the tree. Then I decided to create the art for the tile map, the footer UI, the inventory button, the inventory UI, the portal UI, and the combat portal. After that, I decided to make one of the most time-consuming decisions. I made the items appearing on the character when you equip it. And that took some time, because I had to draw the items on each sprite, for each frame, for all animations. And the best part is, I had to draw it all over again when I had to redraw the main character. This is the result. Then I decided to work on crafting. So I created the crafting table, the anvil, and the stove. It is kind of weird to have a stove in a game, but I decided to add this instead of a furnace. But it works like a furnace. I also added an option to remove the items from the ground by double clicking it with your right mouse button. I almost forgot, if you look at the inventory right now, you will see that we use it to have this part showing the item information. I wasted a lot of time creating it and I just removed it afterwards because it was consuming a lot of the screen and it only showed the information when you have the inventory open, so it was not that useful as I thought. Then I decided to add a bunch of new arts for the game and some visual effects for actions. Now every tool that you equip show a different effect, and also every monster show a different attack. I also used this time to draw a lot of different items, including this fishing hood, and I didn't even have fishing back then, but it was cool, so I draw it anyway. Then after a long time fishing bugs and refactoring the code, I decided to create my first cave. It is really simple actually, you just need to click on it and it will teleport you to the cave. Eventually I had to think about values. I mean, how I would balance my game. For that I created a different tool where you could export all the game data into a spreadsheet, and then you will be able to change it and then import it back. This way I can see every item at once, making it easier to decide how much defense some item will give, or the resource durability and stuff like that. Here is how my spreadsheet works. I have different tabs and each tab contains different informations like items, monsters, resource providers, craft informations, and even translations. Currently I have only Portuguese and English, but I'm planning to add more in the future. Then I created the first main menu because I wanted to playtest it with my Discord community. You can also join it by clicking on the link in the description. After my playtest, I fixed a ton of different books and worked on a new tool, the ball. I wanted to create an auto-food system, similar to Melvor Idol. For example, when you face a monster, it will consume food automatically. Here is how it works. The ball slot will appear when you equip your ball, and then you have to drag your food into it. It will consume food every time that you receive a fatal hit, but keep in mind that it has an internal cooldown. The next step was to create the player status UI. Before that I had to look at all my items and do the math to know how many attack or defense I had. Now I just have to press C or click on the UI button and I will have a full review of my attributes. At this point I had received a lot of comments comparing my game to Forager, and it's fine, since I'm using Forager as an inspiration. But I really think that this happens due to the water being a flat color, so I decided to change that and create a background animation with a little bit more details. I also added some random islands to keep the environment more alive. I did the same with the cave, but I don't have any footage from back then. I will show you how it looks right now. Then I finally implemented fishing. It is a little bit different when compared to how you get the other resources. When you are fishing, you have a percentage to catch the fish. In this case, it is 30%. This percentage is attached to the fishing spot, and it can be modified by your fishing efficiency, which can be increased by equipping a fishing rod. Then I decided to create an ending for the first act. So I implemented the first boss, called Misunderstood. It's kind of silly, but I wanted to create a lore where you would have a misunderstanding, so I created this name. And since it ended with Toad, I decided to follow up with this idea and make it like this. Well, At this point I already had a playable game, but it was still missing something to connect everything. So I decided to add quests, and to get your quests you will have to talk with Mr. All. Those quests serves two purposes. The first one is to be a tutorial, teaching how to navigate in the game, and the second one is to give you an objective, a meaning to your actions. For example, in this game you wake up alone in this island and you are looking for your friends, the other good boys, and then you discover what happens to them and decided to solve the case and find them. You can learn more about this by playing the demo. It is available on Steam. After some time working on the game, I improved a lot, specifically with the art and the UI, so I decided to redraw some of my UI elements. For example, I did the inventory and the combat portal UI. It used to look like this, and now they look like this. I also did the boring part, the settings, and I decided to create some sort of PC window to navigate into it. It makes some sense because this part of the game is not related to the dog itself. The dog is not aware of the settings. It's more related to your computer. So it makes sense to be like Windows in a computer. I'm really proud of this. It was super easy to do because it was simple shapes and the result was pretty good. Then I was already aiming on my next step, which was releasing the demo. So I decided to redo the main menu to make it more presentable, going from this to this. I'm really happy with the results of this one also, and I didn't have to create any specific art for it. I just combined some existing art and used the same logo that I already had created for the Steam page. But before we jump to the next topic, let's talk about the Steam page. I decided to do it on a hard mode by designing the page myself. I'm not new with art. I used it to draw a lot when I was a kid, but I'm not a professional. Initially, I decided to keep the art as a pixel art, and I did this. I was really proud of it when I did it. When I compared it to the other games, I decided that it was kind of ugly. I'm not saying that pixel art makes it ugly, but I'm saying that my art was making it ugly. There's a lot of different games with pixel art that was amazing, but my game in particular was not good enough. To fix that, I decided to learn vector art. So I downloaded Inkscape and I decided to draw over my pixel art and see what happens. At the end, it was looking better than my pixel art version, and I was really happy with it for a long period of time. But I still had that itch to change it. I don't know, the background was kind of blending with the text, making it harder to read, and it was just looking like the same thing over and over between the text and the background. So I changed it in the last minute and it looks like this. I literally changed it one day before releasing the demo, and for me it looks good. Maybe I will feel like needing to change it in the future, who knows. Well, that's it for this video. It was a little bit less than 1 year of game dev, 335 days to be honest, but YouTube liked rounded numbers. I wish I had accomplished more during this period, and I really feel like I could do more. It was around 700 hours invested on this game, and I could do more, but I still have my day job, and some days I was just tired, and other days I was lazy, and sometimes I just wanted to play other games, and yeah, I don't know. I think that I could do better still. But it is what it is. I will try to get better and I will learn with time to find the correct schedule to work on it. I hope that you like my journey. Don't forget to play my game, the demo is available on Steam. And if you want to follow the development closer, subscribe to this YouTube channel and follow my Discord channel. I post updates there daily, and maybe you will be there when I really complete 1 year. See you in the next update. Bye.